Nice.
Snoise?
Snoise.
Welcome once again. We are here with the great Robbie Calvo.
Evening.
So, although that was not a great example of simple phrasing, we do
Not what we
plan.
planned.
Exactly. That is complete. Like we got a great idea. We're going to do simple phrasing, and we just blew that right out the window. But anyways, we do have a method to the madness, and there is a way to do it. But before we get into it, make sure you sign up for Robbie's channel over there, down here in the description box. Also, if you're new here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe, click the bell to be notified. And also, but wait, there's more. We got a big giveaway going on, line 6. Got to check it out. Down below, all the details. Giving away Helix, the Helix programs for the computer.
So Helix native. Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. It sounds so much better when you say it. Say it one more time.
Helix native.
Today on the NPR guitar, Helix native. That's amazing. All right. So anyways, today we're going to do a basic breakdown of how to like take one position maybe over a chord change. Yeah. Make a simple, as you call them, motif or something kind of like a melodic phrase.
Yeah.
How to mix major and minor. And then also how to start adding arpeggios, which is kind of, that's you all rolled into one.
It kind of is, yeah. So it's all mixed up, right? And I think when you've got everything separated, so if you're playing minor over this kind of groove, just to kind of back up a little bit, guys, we're playing A, D, G, back to D to A. So we've got an A mixolydian progression, i.e. the tonal center's the A chord in the key of D, right? All those chords are in the key of D, but our tonal center's A. So we're targeting that, right? We're going home. So we can play A minor pentatonic, A major pentatonic, mix them together, but also if you play A7 or A9 arpeggios, and you saw me play a little bit of that, you can put that in there too. And also I did a saucy little Dorian thing as well.
Saucy, baby.
So A Dorian over this works as well.
All right, so we're going to give you a basic YouTube format lesson. We'll probably do a half an hour of this. And then for those of you who are members to my site, we're going to do a deep dive there too. If you're not a member, make sure to check out down below the membership at brettpapa.com. All right, so where do we begin, Maestro? Should we start like in one little spot? Yeah,
so if we start in and around the chords, and one of the things that on the courses I've just been working on with Brett is that shapes within shapes. And it's a great way of seeing chord tones. Yeah. Great way of seeing little motif ideas. Instead of seeing the whole scale, take a portion of it and create an idea. Yeah. So the idea there is, so if we just reference the chord on the fretboard, it's just an A triad or an A5 chord to some degree. If you play your minor pentatonic over this, you know, starting here, right, and you're going home there.
So that's position 5.
Right, and you can hear it's home. Yeah. But if you look just at the middle 2 strings, right, and you've referenced your chord here, and I think I started the solo with.
Okay, so simplicity-wise, I'm glad you said that, because let me play the whole chord progression and show everybody that just that works over the whole thing.
Oh, it's fantastic to start. Yeah,
okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4. Now, why does that work?
Okay, so each time, I'm big on this thing called tonal centers, and that's what modality is about. Don't let it freak you out. Every chord progression you'll play over is modal, right? And I keep hammering this home with people. Don't freak out about the modes you're playing over it. Okay, so we keep going home. Our ear is going home to A, isn't it? All the time. That's the tonal center, what we hear is home. So if we target home and the chords keep revolving around, eventually it goes home, doesn't it? The chords do. What the ear is saying is, like that on the 1 chord or the 5 chord, it's gone to another chord, but the A that we're targeting is the 5 in D. When I was playing the chords, I was playing a G with the added 2 or 5, so the A's in it as well.
Yeah.
So what we've got is we've got chords that support the melody, right? If we keep it that simple. Yeah. And what happens is like when you're playing a blues solo and the chords change and you play the same riff.
Right.
So you can stay there initially and then expand upon that. And I think it's always a great soft place to start a solo instead of coming out the gate with this ripping line. Right?
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Well, you
shred 24/7.
And I think just a pick slide first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
How quickly could you burn in ear fatigue on everybody in the crowd?
So I was talking to a keyboard player friend of mine that we played a gig here in town a couple of years ago together, and we were talking about it the other day. And I said it was so much fun playing with you because you're smiling and and I was playing Heard It Through the Grapevine, and I did a similar kind of bubble part thing. He started playing it back to me, and we were doing this trade, and we were having so much fun
trading bubbles,
right? And the audience were digging it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It wasn't flash, but it was just interesting how we phrased.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, I don't know if you guys noticed this, when Brett played, I didn't start at the top. I waited to play that bubble part, so I felt the pocket needed to be pulled back.
Yeah.
The second time I did it immediately on the beat. Can we do that again? I'll just kind of show the guys what I mean by that.
Do whatever you want. 2, 3, 4.
There's behind beat. So you've got choices of where you put that in the pocket, in the groove. Because this is a nice kind of groove anyway, why not leave space?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
You don't always have to...
Yeah, and it's not like getting a piece of wallpaper and just covering everything with it, And I think in terms of if the drums are playing a pocket, the bass is playing a pocket, and you're playing a guitar pocket, what's my place in that mix?
Yeah.
And if you're just blazing notes over the top, not taking any opportunity to hear where those might be,
right,
then I think, you're kind of missing it a little bit, and you can play less.
Yeah.
And make more music.
Yeah, well, you're the king of that, which is great. I mean, it's like everything, not only that, but all the phrases mean something. It's not just like scale shredding.
One of my things that I teach in my courses is play with intention.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but when that stuff's coming up, when I know it's my turn to play, kind of already know what I'm going to do.
This is how I know you do tons of gigs.
Tuning?
You just you're talking to the audience and tuning. You're multitasking.
Yeah, guys, don't forget to tip the waitresses. The veal tonight is the special.
Exactly.
It's all that stuff. No, I don't. Yeah, you do. You get used to these things, right?
Yeah.
But it's those are the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for a melodic motif that I can repeat to hook the audience in, pull them in, then take them on a little bit of a journey. So it's developing the line. Start simple, develop the line. Then take them on a crescendo, and you can either end there or you start another start of pockets, right? And I like to think in terms of melody as opposed to solos. And not that the intro thing that I did was overly melodic, but it was intentional what I was going to play. Right. And I think, guys, before you start playing is go, okay, this is kind of the line I hear, right? And I did that thing like this. Or I'm hearing that that's going to work, right? And I keep targeting the E note of the A chord and stuff like that. So start looking for those things, little shapes within the bigger shape, the scale,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
And then develop past that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we were talking earlier too. When you were playing the chord changes, I think a lot of people, they see a scale shape and they feel like they got to use the whole thing all at once. But when we were talking, like if you play the chord, like hold on one second. So you got this note, this note, this note, and this note.
Yeah.
And it's like everything's covered right there. right? So you can here play
3, 4, and.
You know, it's so simple. You know, like I catch myself doing that all the time, like trying to shred over something, and then I'm like, wait. Why don't I just take 4 notes? Because listen, like B.B. King, right? He's in that little BB box, and it's like, he's got a whole killer solo right there. Like, why am I trying to do all this stuff when that is simple? Not only is that simple, but it actually serves the song more oftentimes than...
It really does. And, you know, just mentioning that. So let's say, guys, that is your opening motif, right? And it's a riff in itself. Maybe the bass player could even do it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you could do that. Well, what about then if you move into pattern 1 and do the same thing?
Yeah.
So can I just do that? I don't even know. I'm not even going to try whether it works. I'm going to see if it does.
Just go for broke. Here you go. 2, 3, 4. Right.
So you're taking the same motif idea rhythmically, but placing it in another pentatonic box.
Yeah.
Or you could literally move up a string or lower in a string. So, guys, if I'm doing this, right, what about if I changed it to the shape within the pan?
Oh, right. Yeah, like the minor.
Or you could do this.
Yeah.
Right? Can we try that?
Yeah, totally.
So what I'm going to do this one second because it targets my note here.
So are you essentially kind of mixing?
I'm going to do no, still minor.
Oh, still all minor. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
2, 3, 4.
So we took a simple idea, moved it across a string set.
Yeah. So you're playing.
Yeah, and then I went lower in that.
Right.
And because I'm not necessarily following the chords, but the ear goes, oh, we went to another melody there.
Yeah.
And because we're choking the notes, you know, you've got that staccato thing, we're not really resolving hard, are we?
Yeah.
We're not going and hanging out there. Because it's short and sweet, we can get away with it.
Yep.
So what it's doing is giving us a variation on a theme within our scale shape.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting too, is you could, if you took 2 sets at a time and just really paid attention to what those 2 notes are capable of, like here, right over the A chord, both those are strong.
It's the
right?
1/5. Yep.
And then when you go to the D, I could always bend up or come back there. You have 2 choices right there, right?
You really did.
Same thing there, right?
Yeah.
And then when the G comes, you know, you have here. Or you can bend.
Yeah, right.
Third, right?
Yeah.
And then just do that for each group of strings. Like what happens next? Okay, that's A.
Yeah.
Then you could do D.
Yeah. You're really outlining the chords, aren't you? And that's the beauty of it. You know, if you really start playing over these things and going, that's working, great, remember that.
Yeah.
And that I say that to guys too, you know, don't throw away a good idea.
Yeah.
Is that working? Yeah, I like that. Okay, well then milk it to death.
Yeah.
Almost, right? Seriously, I mean, how many notes do we have?
Yeah.
And if you consider, okay, there's 5 notes in that pentatonic scale, there's only so many permutations.
Yeah.
So don't throw away a good idea.
Yeah.
Use it, reuse it, and repackage.
So what if we we did the minor. What if we took that, so that's the 5 shape,
Yeah.
and then put the major 1 shape.
Okay. Okay, so here's
So
initially...
mix major and minor, those two together.
Okay, so here's what I would do initially. Let's do this on the first one. So from A minor.
Mm-hmm.
See how that's changed the thing?
So are you going to change per chord or per round?
Let's see how it works.
Well,
all right, let's do it per round and then we'll try and interchange it.
so 3 rounds, one's minor, one's major, last one's mixing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Take us home, Robbie.
Right? So sticking to the same kind of idea of the bubble part, on the second time in the major, all we've done is moved a finger inwards, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right. So those are things that you could start doing. You might go, oh, I like the E to the G to the A. On the D, maybe I like the E to the F sharp because it's in our D chord to the A.
Yeah.
So could we try that?
Yeah, yeah.
So we kind of outlining using major and minor.
Okay. 2.
Back to G. All right. So you've got the option, again, staying small, like small shapes within the bigger shapes. Instead of trying to go crazy and then falling off the log.
Yeah.
You know, stay on the log, right, as you're going down the river a little bit. And if you stay there, you'll go, okay, that's a great place I can start my solo in this song.
Yeah.
And then maybe find another little motif within it. Because quite honestly, if you're just playing lines, you're not really listening to the music, so you're not serving it.
Yeah.
This way you're serving the music. And let's say you're playing in a band and you're not the band leader and the band leader cues you to play and you played something simple like that and you were out. I don't think you would ever say to you, dude, why aren't you like melting faces right
Where's
now?
the sweep arpeggios with taps, bro?
I wouldn't. If I was the musical director and someone did that, I'd be like,
yeah.
Right. And I think it's that kind of thing. We've got to kind of look at what we've got in place here and play musically, not necessarily as guitar players.
Okay, so curveball, chromatics.
Okay. So
Where's a good place to start?
Okay, well, let's start in our patterns where we're at.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we can go into arpeggios.
You want to give them an example of what they can do first before we play, or you want to play first?
I'll give you an example of, here's what I would look for, all right? So let's say, for example, we've got our major pentatonic stuff here. If you think of this and adding the blues note, we've already got a chromatic, haven't we? So we could think of this as A major or F sharp blues, right? So if we did this, guys, we've already got a chromatic going up to that. Right, then what about if you used the open string?
Ooh.
So. Wow. Right? So we've got a chromatic here with an open string kind of.
Yeah. Oh, that was cool. Show them that.
So you're mixing some major ascending, minor descending.
Ooh.
Right, so if I did this.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, a way to make it super saucy, as you would say, is to, when you're doing these.
Absolutely. Gives it a bit more country snap too, right? The way you're playing it. Yeah, so don't forget those things. You can bend into this note, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying. Okay, where do we then add some more chromaticism? Okay,
Do tell.
so why don't we just move up a string? So if you've got this.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're just playing chromatically like this.
So you're filling in the gaps.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
You fill in the gaps between the tones. And when I play with arpeggios, because those tones are chord tones and resolution points, if you fill in the gaps and get home to those tones, you're always going to be good.
Saucy.
Mustard.
Okay,
Right.
so let me play, and then do a little of everything.
Okay.
So I'll go 4 rounds.
Okay.
Do the same thing.
let's
What was
see.
it? Major, minor, mixing with chromatics on the floor.
With chromatics, okay.
Ready?
Okay. See what I mean? So there's lots of mileage in there, and if you were actually to lay every one of those scale shapes on the fretboard, you could probably do this.
Yeah, right, totally.
You're filling in the gaps in a lot of spaces. What you've got to do then is create melodic lines from the information. It's no good just learning the information. It's like having a language and not stringing a sentence together.
Yeah. This video is like you're auctioneering
Well, it's like when
random words.
Right. It was when you go to Japan and you know konbanwa, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Sorry, go ahead. You're fighting words, boy.
Yeah, right. Arigato. You know,
Yeah.
if you know one word, it gets you through some situations,
Yeah.
but it's never going to get you a beer.
Right.
So I think what you've got to do is you've got to take the information and go, okay, now how do I apply the information?
Yeah.
And a great way to do that is simply take little small parts from within the information. And what that does is it doesn't overwhelm you with 6 strings of 2 notes per string or 4, you know. And that's how I create my ideas.
So it's a good place to start just sliding. So say if you're using this bubble, maybe sliding in.
It's a perfect way to do it,
Yeah.
right? So, and you saw me on the end of the solo kind of thing is doing this.
Yeah. Love that.
Right, and obviously getting home if you can. But I think starting there, and what you could do as part of your practice routine is have a track like this and literally just start with. What you've just done then is played 2 lines and then a home line.
Yeah.
And I think if you start there and that simply, within an hour of you practicing, for example, you've probably got 10 of those.
Totally.
Right?
Then you can just change the front too.
Yeah, you want to play a little bit?
I mean, do you want me to play?
Yeah. Give us some sauce. Okay. 3, 4, and. Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, even those kind of things, you could go, oh, I liked that.
Yeah.
I've got to work that in.
Yeah.
And what you could do is you could take your favorite 3 things and create a solo.
You totally can. And I think that so many people don't realize that, like, and I'm not knocking Eddie Van Halen because he's my favorite guitar player of all time. But if you take him out of Van Halen and put him in another, and I have an MI, like he did a thing with Alan Holsworth at Musicians Institute, and it was amazing. But after 5 minutes, Eddie has his bag that he does, and after 5 minutes, it was like, oh, those are the licks, his like 10 killer licks he always uses. But he just repurposes them in the context of Van Halen, you know?
Exactly.
Where some guys, you know, they're just an endless supply of, you know, crazy, but...
Yeah, some guys really can stream. Yeah. They've played so long, like the Larry Carltons and those kind of guys that, and Robin Fords, they've got the chops for days. They've done a lot of gigs. They've done a lot of stuff. They have a lot of repertoire. Yeah. It doesn't mean they're doing new things. They know how to repurpose.
Yeah, they know how to mix them.
And, you know, for you guys, what I would say is, okay, we've all got stock licks. I have mine. I mean, you've identified that in me. I identify in you. And we all do, right? It's why we like certain players. Love that, what they do. But what you have to remember is now, can you do that 10 BPM faster? Yeah. Can you do it slower and still be in the pocket? Right. Can you repurpose it and rephrase it, i.e., you saw me move things across the beat? Yeah. So instead of taking a new line, all I do is I place it somewhere else. Yeah. So for example, we could do this. Yeah, sure. What I'm going to do, guys, if I'm purposing this across the A to start with, what about if I wait until the D chord kicks in? Okay. All right. So 2, 3, 4. And it's just sitting back a little bit, and that might give you a new idea, or what you're playing will sound different on that chord as opposed to what it sounded like on the one chord or the home chord. And that's always interesting too, is like moving your ideas around the beat, the bar. Yeah. You know, and it might be that you just did that at the end to go home. You could have the whole progression, then you go right, and then wait again, and maybe the sax player plays a couple of lines.
Sax players have the best phrasing ever.
They really do. And so good. They phrase like vocalists. Yeah. Because they have to breathe between the lines, and so does a vocalist.
But they're like the kings and queens, I should say, of chromaticism in a tasteful way, you know?
Yeah, and you can hear the lines. They know where home is. They know their chord tones. Yeah. But yes, they can go between those with chromatics, but also you can bend up to chromatics. We can do the same. It's a little harder, isn't it? Right? They're doing it with breath, where we're doing it with fingers. So we've got a different instrument, guys, that we're applying these tools to, but there's some amazing guys out there that mimic sax players on the guitar.
So good. Right? So good. Let's do one final thing here for YouTube. Let's do like maybe an arpeggio idea or two. Okay, yeah. So what would we do over this particular chord progression? What's a go-to arpeggio?
In position?
Sure.
Okay.
Or wherever you want.
Wherever. Well, what I do is I'll give you a couple and I'll give you a tasty nugget to go, woohoo, I need to learn those.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what I would do is, what's an A7 arpeggio, right? Because we've got a mixolydian, so it's the dominant 7 chord in the key of D, right? So
I'm confused. Help me out.
Okay, so we're only playing a triad shape or a 5 chord. Okay. But the position that chord falls in that key is the 5 chord. Okay. The 5 chord's either major or dominant. Okay. Now, just because we don't have the flat 7 in this doesn't mean we can't play dominant 7th licks. Okay. So just check this out, guys. Actually, in the intro video, I played a dominant 7th or dominant 9th lick, and actually a Dorian thing, but. Check this out, guys. So if, play me just the A chord a second. What I'm going to do is all three, So I'm going to play minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, just over this A chord, and then I'm going to do a dominant 9 run.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Okay. So it's just hit.
3, 4.
Is major. Got away with it, just about.
Safe!
Oh, yeah. So the difference here is minor, major pentatonic, and then dominant 9th. So what I was doing was, when you go to the arpeggio, you can really flavor that flat 7, which is the characteristic
What note
note.
is that one?
So it's going to be G. Now you've got that in your minor pentatonic, haven't you? It's right there. So we can still flavor it with that note. So we can hammer that one home, all right? If you want to start using arpeggios, what you've got is all of the chord tones of A7. We might not have been hearing the C sharp in that because it sounds very root and fifth sound, right? So it can either be minor or major, which is why that's working. If we actually did this, we've just changed everything. So what I'm doing is flavoring it with its natural component, right? So the 5 chord dominant 7 arpeggio. And because it sounds different to the other two, I think it turns your head a little bit. So you could start simple and then go off into a
tangent.
Yeah. And you can do that in position, guys. They're not that hard to learn. If you learn the arpeggio and then you add the 9th to it, you get 2 notes per string patterns.
Okay.
So I'll show you on the fretboard. So dominant 7th arpeggio, but you notice there I have to do this finger bend here because I've only got 1 note per that string. So what I did was added the 9th or the 2nd to these arpeggios. So you've got so I've got 2 notes per string, right?
That's awesome.
And they look very similar to pentatonics when you do them like that, which means I can get similar type pentatonic lines.
So how do you take that shape that you just have and avoid playing it like a shape? Like, what are ways to make it sound musical without making it sound like an arpeggio?
And that's the thing, isn't it? Arpeggios are root 3rd, 5th, flat 7 kind of thing. So again, find the middle of the shape.
Okay.
Right, so you've got this kind of thing. So if I've got this, so I've got a mix between major and minor already, haven't I? My major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. So I would do something like this. Right? So I would start there, and then maybe what if I do this?
So are you doing some of the runs like, and I'm not sure, that like that kind of stuff where you're going like, say, 1 note per string on 3 strings or whatever?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is kind of pulling off ideas, so this kind of thing. So, and I will cheat and put in that minor thing here, right?
Oh, so what was that? Is it?
So I'm adding the C note.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay.
You know, so you can do that kind of thing. And then, you know, so you've got then look at the shapes, smaller shapes in there. What I would do is just take like maybe 3 strings and go, okay, so where are my notes on those 3 strings?
Give them some context.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4.
So simple, but it really is outlining the chord as opposed to using our major and minor pentatonics. And then, of course, if you add the chromatics to that, you've got even more source.
Oh. Well, we can't leave them hanging on that note. Ready?
Right.
2, 3, 4.
Right. So I hit the major third of the chord there and forgot.
Cheater.
Yeah, right. But playing through that sounds better on something like this because we're neither major or minor, aren't we?
Yeah.
With the 5. But you get the idea, guys, that if you learn a shape, then learn how to utilize it. But I would say don't try and utilize all 6 strings.
Yeah.
Utilize 2 strings within it or 3 strings and come up with some little exercises, change direction.
Mm-hmm.
Changing direction's good, and I call that contours, right?
Yeah.
So if you went, next one should be a descend. Then it's, so if you change direction, what you're doing is you're already creating different lines, aren't you? So I say to guys, you know, ascend, descend, or change the direction. Maybe you descend first and then ascend. Mm-hmm. And it's a great way of you changing those lines. The other way of doing it is, are we okay for time?
Yeah, just give them a little bit more in the
Quick wrap. All right, so another thing, guys, let's say you're working out one pattern and you're like, keep running out of ideas. I say start on one note and then go to the next note in the scale. Can we try that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to start.
Oh, I love this. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you showed me this last time here. It was awesome.
Okay.
2, 3, 4.
So I could start my first lick here.
Uh-huh.
Second lick starts here.
Make sure to play it for me.
Yeah, so then up to the next note. So what you're doing, you can't not play something different because you started somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's another great way of you starting to go, oh, that's nice, I'll remember that, I'll develop it, I'll do something else. And when I get stuck sometimes, I'm like, okay, all you have to do is literally, you know, if I went through my major thing, I go.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
And it makes a big difference. This is what I really appreciate about all of this stuff is if you just learn to slow down, like we said, take 2 groups of strings at a time and really, really do that a lot. I think what happens is the players that already have technique, but they're wanting to learn how to phrase better, you start to get that like you know, the great guitar players like Neil Schon or whatever, they have these cool lines and then they're able to blaze through, but they immediately can come back into something that's slow and purposeful.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really how you start to develop that, is literally just sitting like we were doing. And and then you take it from there, right? And then get out of it. But
exactly right.
I think that really helps people to start to phrase, because it's our natural, what we naturally want to do once you're shown a scale is play it on all 6 strings. It's like, I'm going to just take a little piece at a time and then do different. One of the things I've been working on lately is doing different like whole step versions and then do the step and a half. Because the cool thing about the step and a half that a lot of people don't think about is most people, when they go up and down the fretboard, move in whole step jumps. But step and a half slides, run, they sound so cool. And not that many people do it. You know, and it's a way to start breaking out of sounding like everybody else too. And you're hitting it from a different perspective and different interval jumps, you know?
I totally agree. And the other thing I say to guys, if you learn one scale, don't go, I'm done.
Yeah.
Learn a pattern either side of that. And here's why, it's what Brett's saying, that you can flow between lines. Like if I'm playing that little motif thing here.
Yeah.
There's a line already.
Well, I mean,
right?
Stevie Ray Vaughan, all these players, they make a living at, you know, he is a perfect example, because like so much is just all that right there, all that stuff that he does all the time is like 1 and 2 all the time. You know, and it's, you can do so much with that. Then if you think about it, and like, you know, maybe he would start playing to each chord, but using that same kind of idea, and all of a sudden it sounds like all these different ideas, but it's really not, you know, it's just manipulating it, you know, if you're playing with the chords, doing that same idea, you know what I mean? But it sounds different because you're following where the movement of the main tone is.
That means you employ the ear, right? Yeah. And that's the other thing, guys, you know, saying that, oh, A minor pentatonic or A major pentatonic works over this. Yes, it does. But then you still have to make those notes work. In other words, use your ear and go, maybe I need to go to that note.
Yeah.
On that turn and stuff like that. And then, okay, now where do I pocket that? What's my phrasing?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to put all this information together and then say, okay, I don't just stop there. Now I have to phrase it, package it, vocalize it, do all these things. And if I can do that everywhere on the fretboard, then I've now got repertoire for days.
Yeah, totally.
And if you can repackage all that at different tempos, even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And that's what I do. I've got my little stock moves and I know they're going to work, which means I can play with intention.
Yeah.
Because I already know they're going to work.
Calvoisms there. All right. For everybody here on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Check out Robbie's links down below. The Line 6 giveaway details are going to be down below as well. And also, he's done 2 courses here, You Rock and Money Tones.
Yeah.
That are going to, the information is going to be available down below too. I highly recommend you check those out as well. And for those of you who are in the membership, we're going to do some other stuff, maybe start playing over more modes with Dorian and these other fancy things that you can do.
Yeah, we're going to add to this. So if you want that information, obviously subscribe.
Yeah, the membership information will be down below too, so check that out. All right, so.
Thank you.